right. Hi, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. As we get started, I would like to invite everyone to use the comment panel to tell us where you're streaming from. My name is Neji, and I'm a global marketing manager at Nitro Marketing. And I am sitting here in Sofia today, where it's a dark autumn evening already. So please let us know where you're streaming from or where you're sitting from. And we would like to keep this session interactive. So if you have any questions, please put them in the comment panel and we'll do our best to answer. Good. Today we're going to talk about the impact of AI on journalism. And I would like to invite my colleague, Stan, on the stage today. Welcome, Stan.
AI is replacing journalists, writing stories and fully automating newsletters. At the same time, AI has the potential to make journalism better than it ever was. Hello Sneji, and thank you for joining me today. Thank you, everyone, for joining this session on the impact of AI on the world of journalism. I am Stan Berdelut, and I live in Princeton, New Jersey, where I advise organizations on growth, marketing and sales alignment, and the transformative power of AI.
Hello, everyone, and thank you, Snezi. Thank you, Stan. I'm Stan, the real Stan, as my accent can prove it. One thing the avatar didn't say is that I studied journalism and political science at the University of Maryland in the US. I started my career in London working for Reuters. I contributed to the Wall Street Journal, to Hearst, Izvestia, Libération in France, and also to my local news website.
All right, perfect. And Stan, thank you for being here today. I can see we have people from Philly to Germany to France, which is awesome. Thank you so much for joining. Why did you invite your avatar to the discussion, Stan?
Yeah, right. So the avatar, we are going to dive into misinformation, disinformation, the use of social media. It's one of the first aspects I will touch on. This avatar was trained in only 15 minutes. And believe me, if you spend enough time and money, you will see that the result is really lifelike. It's going to blow you away. So it was just a funny way to start this conversation and really show you the power of AI, which is available to just about anyone today.
That's very curious. I'm very curious now. So why don't we just dive right in?
All right, so let me share my presentation and let's dive right in, right? AI is replacing journalists. That's the sad news. It's writing stories and it's fully automating newsletter. And at the same time, I believe that AI has the potential to make journalism better than it ever was. But for the moment, and as of last December, AI has entered the newsroom. And like many journalists, you were both fascinated and frightened by these new staff members. Obviously, you did not interview them, and you just found yourself working side by side with them. These AI journalists write stories, they analyze trends, they publish social media posts, they produce illustration, photo, videos, audio, and art. And for better or worse, the fact is AI is here to stay and is now part of the staff of news organization. And the question for you is, are you going to team up or are you going to fight them? So during the discussion today, I want to go over what is AI. I think we all need a little refresher on that. We will look at AI mind-blowing impact on news landscape from social media to traditional news organization. And finally, I will give you some example of how AI is used today in newsroom on day-to-day operation before giving you tips on how to use ChatGPT to make the most of it. Right, so we are going to demystify some buzzwords that you've probably heard a lot: artificial intelligence, machine learning, generative technologies. Let's break them down And let's see how they relate to each other, right? So first up, artificial intelligence, or AI. Think of AI as the broad umbrella under which various technology reside. It's all about creating machines that can mimic human intelligence. AI is not just for robots. It's also the technology behind chatbot, recommendation system, and even self-driving car. The goal is to enable machines to perform tasks that would normally require human intelligence, like understanding language, recognizing pattern, and making decisions. Now, you might be wondering, how do these machines become intelligent? And that's where machine learning comes in. Machine learning is a subset of AI. It's like the engine that powers your car. In traditional programming, we explicitly tell the computer what to do. In machine learning, we feed the system data and let it learn the rules by itself. The key here is that this system improves over time. The more data they process, the better they get at their task. So we've talked about AI and machine learning, but what about generative technology? How do they fit into this landscape? Generative AI is a fascinating area. It doesn't just analyze data, it creates data that resembles the data that it was trained on. Imagine an artist that can paint in the style of Van Gogh, or a composer that can write music in the style of Beethoven. That's what generative AI does. A specific task, a type of generative AI is large language model. You will hear a lot about that, LLMs. And these are the technology behind chatbots and virtual assistants. LLM can process and generate human-like text. They are trained on vast amount of data, and they can write articles. They can answer questions. They can even compose poetry. So now that we have a better understanding of what AI is, let's talk about AI's impact on media. And I want to start with social media. Right. Social media has become a battleground of ideologies. And unfortunately, the war between Israel and Hamas has given birth to a maze of misinformation. In a piece for Wired titled "The Israel-Hamas War is Drowning X," the platform that we used to know as Twitter, in disinformation, David Gilbert reported that the app was flooded with old videos, fake photos, and video game footage at a level researchers have never seen before. The New York Times recently wrote that much of this disinformation is seeded intentionally, making it hard to distinguish truth from falsehood. And it's pushing individuals towards sources that echo their sentiment, thereby reinforcing social and political divide. So on platforms like Twitter or X, the platform like X, and with Elon Musk, we know that it's now easier for fake information to spread. And artificial intelligence is creating more and more content, which is adding to the confusion. So fake news, inability to make out both from human, it's having a terrible impact on the world, and I believe on the future of democracy. And a study by Pew Research Center showed that many young people trust social media nearly as much as they trust traditional news. But the trust of both traditional and social media, it's going down. And that is a big problem. People are not sure what to believe anymore. So this is making people less involved because they are not sure what's happening. They are less engaged, and they don't even know why it matters. And I think for journalists, this is a major issue. So AI is polluting social media, right? And it's causing people to lose trust in what they see and what they read. It's becoming impossible to know what is true from what is fake. And listen carefully, because I think that might surprise you. It is also becoming extremely difficult to prove that you are human. Current LLM, large language model, like ChatGPT 4, are very, very close to being as smart as we are. So close that Microsoft Sebastian Bubeck wrote in a paper published last March that something new is happening here. Maybe for the first time, we have something that we can call intelligence. I believe that now that AI has reached such a sophistication, proving that a content has been generated by a human rather than a bot is going to be essential. And for the moment, there is no way to do that. It's impossible to prove that something has been written by a human being. And journalists realize that people may not trust that an article has been written by them, by a real person. And they are increasingly writing before their article that this article has been written by a human, which doesn't prove anything, honestly.
So, Stan, do you think there will be a way to prove that we are humans? And you recently told me about a project called the OR project from OpenAI. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so proving that you're human is going to be extremely important, especially as AI is going to replace more and more jobs. And OpenAI has started a project where they scan the iris of your eye, the inside of your eyes, with an orb. It looks like a sphere. So you go to a physical location in the US, and I think abroad you also have some location. You get a scan, and then you've got a unique number, which is a blockchain number, which is matched against an app on your smartphone. And that's going to be, I mean, they hope that it's going to become an accepted way to prove that you're human. So people are starting to try to find a way to do that. But it's not entirely there yet.
How ironic is that?
Yeah. So we saw that OpenAI has been trying to do that. We also have seen that online people are using NFTs, non-fungible token, and it appears to be one way creators are employing to prove that their writing is actually their own writing, and for readers or users of the technology to be able to match it against a human being. So on a website like Mirror XYZ, you will see content written by people and tagged with that NFT number. However, for the time being, as journalists find themselves supplanted by AI, there is a noticeable dip in content quality. And we are going to talk about that. So journalists across the world, from Qatar to Paris, are quite scared, and reasonably so, about the future of their job. Report of lost job to AI have made a headline. Bild under Alex Springer Media Group plan to cut around a third of its 600 jobs. This initiative to replace journalists by AI is supposed to be saving the company 100 million by 2025. According to CBS News, in May 2023 alone, artificial intelligence contributed to 4,000 jobs lost. The Washington Post reported in June that 2 copywriters have lost their job because their employee decided that ChatGPT could perform the job at a cheaper price than the human being. Media companies such as CNET have already laid off reporters while AI is writing articles. And jobs affected include editor-in-chief, layout artist, proofreader, publisher, and photo editors. They are all being replaced by AI application. BuzzFeed has started experimenting with articles fully written by AI. They were a travel guide, and honestly, the quality was extremely poor, which might be a good news for us.
Yeah, I was actually going to say that those are not very good news that you've been sharing with us so far. So, is there like a positive spin to this whole AI impact on journalism?
Yeah, and I believe like at every pivotal moment in the history of humanity, change come at a cost. Google CEO has compared AI impact on humanity to that of fire and electricity, right? So now, I started this presentation, as you said, Snazy, with pretty dark news for the media industries, right? But I would like now to talk about a growing trend, and increasingly journalists are collaborating with generative AI, Midjourney, ChatGPT, DALI, to craft quality content. And through this alliance between human and AI, they are leveraging AI's capability to enhance productivity, create expression, while retaining what makes them human. And humanity is really all about meaningful storytelling, accurate reporting. So let's look at what the Associated Press has done recently. They organized a conference on the use of AI in the newsroom. And there are a range of issues that pop up when you try to work responsibly with generative AI. You can see them laid out on this slide here. Top of mind for journalists is the accuracy issue. And in my own experience, I found that often responses as some kind of accuracy issue, including issues related to the provenance or the attribution of where the information comes from. So AP reported, for instance, on news publisher getting caught publishing AI written text without adequate editorial oversight. And for the time being, I think it's really best to have someone check absolutely everything before publication. There are other issues like confidentiality and privacy issues that crop up, since AI providers by default can use the data that you input in their service to improve their own service. That might mean that you don't want to use documents from an investigative project, for example. The other issue that crops up here because of third-party AI provider is that you need to adhere to their term of service, which, for instance, for OpenAI, they have a labeling requirement. If you are using their API for news generation or news summary, you need to adhere to these rules. There are also some copyright or plagiarism concern here. There is evidence in the research literature that model can memorize snippets of text from their training data, and they can regurgitate that text back. And in OpenAI case, they actually assign all the responsibility to you, the user, for the content that you generate, right? So if you are going to infringe on some copyright, it's going to be your fault, not OpenAI. There are also social bias that you need to consider. The training of this model have been used on data, and you don't always know whether this is fully unbiased or not. So you need to be thinking about possible misrepresentation of the generated outputs. There is an anthropomorphism issue, and that's the idea that we imbue these tools with human-like quality. But of course, we know that these are just sophisticated statistical text generator. They generate one word at a time. And they don't have feeling, they don't have intent, they don't have motivation, they don't take initiative, they just have big abstract ideas. They work one word at a time. And finally, it's worth noting that these things can get pricey to develop for news organization. So there are various capabilities of this model, some of which are more analytic like classifying or extracting data, whereas others are more synthetic and generative, like rewriting, personalization, or ideating. You really need to think of the various newsroom tasks that you might encounter. And here is a list of some of them on the right. Some of the pitfalls that I've mentioned in the previous slide are less of an issue if you are going to use those models for internal newsroom tasks, things like discovery or tip processing. This kind of back office task, I think, are where the sweet post of the current version, the sweet spot of this current version of technology are at the moment. And AP has experimented with integrating GPT into news discovery process to help journalists ideate on news angle. And they reported that the user response of these tools were very, very positive. And so this kind of ideal use of the tool as a thinking augmentation is maybe a very good idea for newsroom at the moment. And a lot of the excitement is also about the use of GPT for public-facing output, right? So actually using the tool to do the writing. And this is where it gets a little bit dicey and hit tensions issues with accuracy, possible copyright, plagiarism. So we are talking about social media. We are talking about content creation, automation of newsletter. And this kind of things, I think for the moment, it's not I think, I'm convinced that they require some aspect of having someone in the loop there for quality control. So quality might be improved with better prompting. The tech will definitely continue to improve, but you are definitely going to want to have a human integrated into the publishing loop. Check for content accuracy, check for attribution, check for legal issues before publication. Let's now talk about real-world use case.
That's always very interesting.
Yeah, and so what I found as I prepared for this presentation is that in Norway, in Europe in general, and in Norway, you have a lot of excitement. So the Schibsted Media Group is experimenting with AI. And what they've done is that they conducted an internal hackathon, AI hackathon, to come up with creative use of the technology. And the Aftenbladet, which is one media outlet of this organization, they invented a fact checker. It was chosen as the most innovative and useful hack. And the team has identified a recurring problem with televised debate, fact-checking politician statement in real time. So they took on the challenge and they built a tool that transcribes audio from the debate, isolate statement that could be fact-checked, and use real-time information from the internet to verify those statements. So that's a creative, interesting use case. Another one which I love because it's a small news website in the US, and those guys for $10 a month, which is not much, are using ChatGPT API to grab city board meeting agenda and local government news publication, bring them up on their website, and automatically build an agenda based on those information using GPT. And then on a second stage, the AI will build and write a small paragraph about this piece of calendar information, this agenda. And then the human journalists will actually do their own research and come up with a full-fledged story. So you see, they automate a lot of boring tasks like grabbing the agenda, grabbing the calendar. The AI will build a paragraph, and then based on that, the human start to do their real work and investigation into writing stories.
Beautiful. It looks like for the time being, we still need journalists quite a lot. Actually, it reminds me of this professor from George Washington University who was recently comparing the furor over ChatGPT with the hysteria around the content farms back in 2009 and 2010. And for those of you who are not familiar with the term content farms, these are companies that basically paid writers tiny amounts of money to generate content based on popular search terms or keywords. And then they monetized those articles through ads. And then this really appeared as a phenomenon to spell disaster over journalism, but it was ultimately short-circuited because Google changed its search algorithm to basically downrank this low-quality content. And it seems like AI will soon produce human-like quality, but we are not there just yet. And last June, Stan, we had this very popular session on the use of ChatGPT. So I'm just curious, how do you think ChatGPT can help journalists?
Yeah, and I will dive right in on how ChatGPT can help journalists. But just to echo what you said, Sneji, it's quite interesting to see that we often freak out when a new technology come out, like the content farm, and then we realize that other technology can actually downrank those content created by at that time it was just people writing snippet of information. Today we've got a lot of companies trying to find a way to identify what has been written by ChatGPT. Like
Mm.
GPT-0 is one tool you can use to try to figure out if it was written by ChatGPT. So I think it's a repetitive thing that we are going to see. But that said, ChatGPT can definitely help you. And in the content I'm going to use, remember that I'm using the paid version, $20 a month of ChatGPT. GPT-4 is way, way more powerful, 10 times more powerful than the free version. So if you've been only using the free version of ChatGPT, I don't think you realize how mind-blowing when properly used GPT-4 can be. So, I started talking all those bad news about AI, disinformation, social media, newsroom experimenting with replacing journalists. And, that doesn't mean we need to give up. Quite the opposite. I think we need to become more vigilant. And one way to do that is to understand the technology. AI won't take your job, Baldwin said during a panel at the 2023 World Economic Forums. It is someone using AI that will take your job. So you should be that person, not to take someone else's job, but you should be that person embracing AI and trying to use it reasonably. All in all, I think think of ChatGPT as a thought partner. It's like the super smart colleague I used to have when I was working with a team before I worked remote. When you had a question, when you didn't know how to do something, there was often that person you can go to and ask a question. Well, today, as we more and more work remote, we don't have that resource. And I think of ChatGPT as probably one of those resources. So even if ChatGPT is better at working without prompt, you always get better content closer to what you need when you indicate the context that the content you need to produce is going to be used in, and the persona that ChatGPT could endorse, right? So I like to start my prompt as "you are XYZ" or "act as an expert in medical field" or whatever. Note that you can organize your text in table, and that's a very interesting for certain type of work. So here in this example, I'm using it to draft a storyboard, You can also prompt it to take different persona, as I said. In this example, I start with asking ChatGPT to act as a middle school teacher and to give me 50 words on what is hemophilia for her student, right? In the other example, and if you see the definition here is pretty straightforward. In the other example, I asked GPT to be a physician specialist in hemophilia. And here, that specialist is asking for 50 words to give to her medical student. And you see that the definition is way more technical. And it's really targeting people who are familiar with medical terms. So you see how a simple prompt, when you give it context and persona, produce a very, very different outcome. So this is a very quick example to show you how powerful prompts are in designing the outcome. In this example, I asked ChatGPT to check a text that I've written against the recommendation of the element of style, which, as you may know, is a classic style manual. And in the same way, you can ask GPT to write using different tone of voice, like being formal or casual. You can ask it to write in a voice of a well-known character, or even in one of your fictional character. You can even submit a text that you've written and ask it to use, and you say, this is a text I have written, write using my tone of voice. So you can guide ChatGPT to really produce the content you want. In this example here on the screen, you see that GPT is not actually changing the text, but just giving me a recommendation of what I should change if I want to adhere to this framework, which is element of style. So it's all those ideas are just for you to realize, how many things are possible with ChatGPT. You can, for example, ask it to improve your style. In this example, I've asked it to review a document about cryptocurrency, starting with a text that was written by people extremely familiar with cryptocurrency. It was a very technical document, and I've asked ChatGPT to review that document and to provide areas where I could improve it to make it more easily understandable by people not familiar with crypto. So I went very fast over those tips, but I think it will give you some ideas of what's possible. I've got more tips coming up, but if I stop here, just a few tips. When you ask ChatGPT to write a long content, sometimes it will stop halfway, and you can just tell it to go on, and it will continue. Sometimes it starts to draft stuff that you don't like, and you can easily say, stop generating. You click on the button, stop generating. You can add instruction, add more context, and ask it to start over. You can use different ways to convert a text into graph, and I won't go into that today, but just know that it's possible. And today, you can enable browsing the web, which is quite interesting because ChatGPT will actually go on the web. You can add plugin to do different stuff like reading scholarship paper, research paper. And you can thread your conversation. So if you have a conversation that you like, a prompt that you like, you can go back to it and continue the thread there.
Stan, the web browsing, is it only available in ChatGPT 4?
I believe so. Yeah, a few weeks ago it was. It's changing every day, so it's hard to keep track. But I believe it's only available in the paid version, yes.
Mm-hmm.
So here is an example of a scientific paper. And in this example, I've asked Claude AI, right? So, ChatGPT is not the only tool out there. Claude AI is another one, and which is free. So it's interesting. And I've uploaded this 99-page PDF research paper, and I've asked it to produce a summary and 5 bullets to summarize, the essence of this paper. So again, you need to check everything. And if I were to publish something based on that, I would actually look at the research paper to make sure that the facts are correct and the numbers are correct. But it's already a big, big time saver right here. So, as journalists, we often have to manipulate large amount of text, of information. We need to extract string of character. In this example, I use ChatGPT to help me code a script to extract email address from a document. So you've got this Google Doc with a lot of email address, and I've asked ChatGPT to write a script, which I use on Google Sheet. I'm not a coder, so I will just copy paste that script, and the result is fascinating. All of a sudden, I've got all my email address extracted from that long document and neatly put into a column of a Google Sheet. So this is just, again, one example. You can do way more, but think of all those use cases, right? From coding to crafting graphs and tables and analyzing document and giving you tips on how to improve your writing. I mean, this is fascinating. We only talk about text, but you can do way more, right? Generative AI provides us with unlimited creative ways to illustrate our stories. And in this demonstration, I use Microsoft Bing, which is free, and use OpenAI, DALL-E 3, I think, text-to-image model. So you prompt Bing, and Bing will come up with an illustration, and this is just incredible. And the latest version of ChatGPT 4, the paid version, now lets you do that directly within ChatGPT. So again, it's a fascinating use of the tool. So we have barely covered the topic of AI in journalism, and every day new tools are released on the current, and the current model improves so fast that it's close to impossible to keep track. I want to leave you with an innovation that is revolutionizing journalism, and it is text-to-voice technology. It isn't merely a tool for converting text into a spoken voice. It's an asset that can enhance the accessibility and the reach and the efficiency of news dissemination. Let's consider accessibility. With AI text-to-voice, news organization can effortlessly create audio version of an article, so that if you have any kind of impairment, you can start to have access to this information. Let's talk about reach, right? In our fast-paced world, people often multitask. They listen to news while driving, cooking, or exercising. AI text-to-voice enables news outlet to meet their audience where they are, broadening their reach exponentially. So that is one fascinating aspect. Another aspect I want you to be aware of is that this model of text-to-voice and voice cloning are becoming so sophisticated. So today, you've got this experimentation on Spotify, where they are translating a podcast into a different voice. At the moment, I think they are experimenting with Spanish, but they are keeping the tone of voice of the podcaster. So if you are a non-native English speaker who really like a podcast, but would love to listen to it in Spanish, you can now do that on Spotify. And this is mind-blowing, right? Because you listen to that person you know, and that person had the same tone of voice, except that they are now speaking Spanish. So again, this is an incredible potential for journalism.
That's really incredible. And it's also incredible how fast technology develops and how many opportunities we have now and capabilities, and some of them even for free. So it's really amazing. But there are still some things that an AI chatbot cannot reliably answer, right? For example, questions on how to solve a problem in your relationship or which outfit looks best, among other things. And for these types of questions, people still turn to other people, like they need humans. And translating that into the digital space, we have some kind of platforms like Reddit or Quora to get answers from other people, other users online. But there is now a mobile app called Superfy, right, Stan? This
Yeah,
is, yeah,
so absolutely, Snizzy. And I like this example because it really shows that AI can be used in conjunction with human being. So this new app, Superfy, uh, is an app where people can ask questions, like you said, how should I get dressed, or what about this, relationship question I've got, or whatever. What should I eat tonight? And and the AI will be used to match that question with the person which is apparently the most suitable to answer it.
yeah.
So it's I don't know if it's a startup we are going to see strive in the coming months, but it's just an example of mixing human with AI.
Yeah, that's really amazing. And during this discussion, basically, I really liked this quote that you had on a slide, that you shouldn't be afraid that AI will take your job. It will be somebody who's using AI who can take your job. So I think the message here that we wanted to share with you is that I don't be afraid, explore, use, try, test, and use AI in your job, because this has huge potential and a lot of opportunities. And we still have a lot to learn, of course, but humans are very much needed. Um, so thank you for your time today. We wanted just to share with you before we say goodbye that we have two upcoming talks.
Yeah,
One is
so before we do that, let's sorry, Snezzy, for interrupting.
no, no, go ahead.
Let's ask the audience if they have any question. I see here Terry is telling us that we can still find curable and really reliable sources on X. Absolutely. The challenge, I think, Terry, that because we have so much disinformation, it's hard to know whether those sources are actually reliable. I still believe that when you read the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, those are reliable sources. But as we see, especially in the US, with such a political divide, people mistrust everything, even what we used to rely on, which we used to really trust blindly. This is becoming more and more difficult for many people. Uh, Maybe not you and I, Terry, but for many people, it's becoming more and more difficult to trust those sources. So, yeah, if you have any question, post them on the comment. We'll be happy to take them. If not, Sneezy, let's talk about what's coming next.
Yep. So next, which is tomorrow, we have our next talk, which is the game of change. And this is focused on how SAP simulations and AI can revolutionize your digital transformation and onboarding. So this will be very interesting, especially for the people who are SAP partners or SAP customers, and feel free to join. There is also a discount code that people who attend this session will receive in case they would like to get a license for this simulation game. And the next talk we have lined up is for next week on Thursday, where we're going to have a very interesting company called Notion. You're going to hear the story about it. Its valuation has skyrocketed to over 10 billion now, and the secret success of Notion can be attributed to the fact that so many people were talking about it and sharing what they had built, which led to really very organic growth. So join this discussion. It's going to be very interesting next week on Thursday.
Yeah, and I will add that we are going to speak with Annie, who is the marketing head of marketing for
Yeah.
EMEA. She has a fantastic story of rising through the level of leadership in our company. And I think that it will resonate with women in tech. She was one of the only women with a voice at the table in a tech organization, which was men dominated. So I think our experience will be fascinating.
Lovely. Very hot topic nowadays also.
Absolutely.
All
All right.
right.
So you can scan those codes that you see here to attend one of those or both of those live events, and I look forward to seeing you all tomorrow. Thank you, Snelly. Thank you so much for co-hosting this talk on
Thank you,
AI.
Stan. And thank you, everyone, for joining us today. We really appreciate the opportunity to be able to share some expertise, knowledge, and the new ideas with you. And we believe in the power of building community and in sharing. So let us know if you have any questions. Stay in touch, and we're here. So thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Snelly. Bye-bye.
Bye.